Welcome to Marketing Monday. I'm Paula Williams with ABCI. Today we're actually talking about a question that we got after our branding webinar last week. We talked about a lot of things that people should do with their branding and why it's important in the aviation industry to have a really strong brand. And I got a question from someone, and I thought this was really a great question because it had a lot of thought behind it, and also it is a situation that probably more than one people have in the aviation industry. So the question came from someone who is bootstrapping their business, and what that means is that they are putting their own money into starting the business. They don't have financing, so they have a very narrow budget. She says she's got $1,000 to start with to get the marketing and branding done for her business, and wants to know, what can I do with $1,000 that's going to make a really big impact and will really help us get started on the right foot. So first of all, I totally respect the fact that you're bootstrapping your business. I think that's really smart because any money that you make is yours. You don't have investors that you're accountable to. The only people that you're accountable to is your customers, which is serving one master, if we want to call it that, and that makes it a lot simpler in your business. So I really respect that, and I really respect also the discipline of keeping your costs down in your startup phase of your business. That's really smart. So I wanted to help, and of course you have to spend some money to make things happen, and that's just the reality of life. So making the most of that money and getting the best results from it is what we're talking about today. So how do I create a brand for less than $1,000? So we charge $59.79 for our brand refresh product. But what we're going to talk about today is kind of the do-it-yourself version, how you can get the same results without spending the money, but with spending a lot more of your effort, if we want to put it that way. So if you've got the time and you've got the skills, then by all means do this yourself. We always say great brands are built, not bought. So whether we do it for you or whether you do it yourself, there's going to be some work on your side to make sure that you live up to your brand promises, and that you are being consistent, and also being building that reputation with your customers. That really is what your brand is for, right? Okay, so 3 things that I would recommend if you're building a brand from scratch for $1,000. First of all, download our design brief template, right? That's free. You can get it on our website if you go to the tip sheet section, and I'll also put a link to it from underneath this video, so you'll be able to find that. Download that template because that will kind of guide you through the process of what you need to have a great brand. And that includes things like, you need to have a logo, you need to have colors, fonts, stationery, signature lines, business cards, other things that you can make consistent, and some things that you might not be thinking of, like how do you answer the phone? What are the consistent ways that you describe your product? What metaphors do you use when you are explaining how your product works? Those are all things that fit into your brand and the way people think about your product or service. So number 1, download our free design brief template. So you haven't spent any money so far, but you are going to spend some time going through that design brief template. The second thing I want you to do is join our insider circle. Now what that is it is our least expensive program for consulting, for marketing consulting. We keep that cost low, and what that allows you to do is to work with our other clients in our private Facebook group. Our clients are really helpful to one another, and also you get an hour a month with us to work on whatever you like. And in this case, we're going to work on your design brief template. So we're going to take what you've got now, figure out what you need next, and just work on that step by step with you as we go through that, help you make some of those decisions and make it make a lot of sense. So that's our least expensive way of offering consulting and helping you walk through some of the items in that template that are really important. You might want us to do a competitive analysis for you so that you know what your competitors are doing, what their brands are, so that you can find the sweet spot where you're not directly competing with them and maybe doing some things that they can't or won't or don't want to do. and taking some of their customers in a way that's ethical and makes a lot of sense in the industry. So that's thing number 2, is to join our insider circle. That's $279. You can start or stop at any time. So, it would probably take us a month or 2 to work through your design brief template, depending on the amount of work that you do, how many questions you have for us, and so on. And then the third thing I'd like you to do, and this is actually something that's really pretty helpful, and that is 99 Designs. There's a company that does logos and other kinds of things. They do some really high quality design, and what they do is they have designers compete against each other. So even if we used, and we do have several designers that we've worked with, but not every designer is going to work for every client, because they have different styles, different preferences, different audiences. Somebody that does maybe an FBO for Mooney's in Texas is going to have a very different style than somebody that does Gulfstream charters out of New York. Those two things are going to have a very different aesthetic, and a very different look and feel. So we'd want to use 2 completely different designers for that. And what 99 Designs will do for you for, less money really, is what they call a contest. So basically you develop your brief, you use some information from that design brief, you put it into a brief for 99 Designs, and you have many, they say 99, but sometimes it's not quite that many, different artists work on a logo idea for you. You pick the one you like best, you pay for that, they get paid, life goes on. So it's a really inexpensive way to get some really good ideas, and they also produce some really high quality results if you do a really good brief on the front end, and we'll help you do that if you're one of our members or if you're in our insider circle. So those are the 3 things we highly recommend. 1, download our design brief template. 2, join our insider circle if you're not already a client. And 3, we can use 99 Designs to work on your logo, and that kind of becomes the centerpiece of your branding. Now the other things you're going to have to do, and you follow that design brief template, and it will give you a checklist of things that really help you look a lot more polished. So small companies just do a logo, and that's all they do for their branding. The larger companies will go through a whole lot more than that. I worked for Wells Fargo for a long time, and they have a brand camp that they make all of their new employees go to, where they do a half day of teaching you all of the stories behind Wells Fargo, about the stagecoaches and the shotgun and the whole 9 yards of Wells Fargo. Your company will have some stories that are associated with it. You're going to have some folklore. You're going to have some origin stories. You're going to have some things that you do different than everybody else, and you're going to want to make sure that your new employees know what those things are. So it really helps to have those things documented. Yeah, those 3 things. If you are working on your brand and you have less than $1,000 to spend, things I recommend: 1, download our free design brief template. 2, join our insider circle, or if you're already a client, we'll help you with that. And then 3, use 99 Designs for your logo, and we can help you walk through the process of creating a great brief for that. So that's it for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have a question that you'd like us to use on the air, we will send you a free copy of our social media guide if we use your question on the air, and we really appreciate you joining us for Marketing Monday. See you next week.